Hi everybody. So I thought, given the fact that I've started a mental health channel and speak about mental health on a weekly basis, it would be a good opportunity for me to tell you my story. So my story starts in 2016. I was working as a prison officer. Yes, I'm probably going to get comments for that. Happens all the time. And I will never forget that day as long as I live. I was working an early shift. I'd been late for my work, which was usual. So I was kind of given the easy jobs to do, and I was called up to deal with an individual who was being violent with the medical staff. So procedure is usually we'll take them down to the segregation area, and pretty straightforward. It was called a surrender procedure. So usually go in, plastic cuffs, take them down. That's it. No issues. Go to the cell, look in the hatch. The custody or the prisoner's lying down on his bed, tell him I'm going to come in. He's like put his hands up against the wall. Normal stuff. Done it loads of times. Never had any issues, mostly. This time, get in the cell, prisoner jumps up and basically goes to the corner. Now, done this job for a few years, so I kind of know what's going to happen. He's either going to brandish a weapon, we'll back at the cell, we'll deal with that. Something will get launched like a TV or something. We'll try and dodge it and deal with whatever's going to happen next. But the minute I seen him turn round with a kettle in his hand, I knew this was bad. Don't know what happened, but instincts kind of kick in, and and I just reacted. I ran at him, and I'm 6'4", so I'm not exactly a small person, as most people who know me have seen me, and made myself as big as I possibly could. At that point, he flings the kettle, full kettle in my face. Now, working in the prison, sometimes I'll wear contact lenses. I was always worried, get punched in the face, broken glasses, it's going to cost me money. So wearing contact lenses was a really easy option. But because I'd said earlier there that I'd slept in, chucked all glasses on. So kettle splashes me in the face, all down this side, all down my arm here, and all down my sort of the rest of my torso, hitting obviously my legs. I just react like literally don't even realise it's happened. The adrenaline's just pumping like that, and I'm like, okay, get him to the ground. We get him sort of under restraint, which is sort of normally what happens in these situations. And from there, I realise, wait now, something's not quite right. I'm burnt, effectively. Couldn't tell you how bad I was because my adrenaline's just pumping through me. Senior officer who was actually there at the time, like, told me get out of the cell. Obviously, anybody who's been in the job or anybody's a police officer or any first responder will know. Little red button on top of your radio. We all fired on it. We all pressed them. Personal alarms going everywhere. So basically, everybody's making their way to your location. I walk out the cell, and first person who came in was like, "Who's hot?" I realised it's me. I told them I've just had a kettle thrown at me. Clearly, you can see my whole face is like bright red. My arm, you can see the steam coming off me. I was like, my skin's already starting to bubble. It's horrific, right? And I apologise for anybody who's obviously listening to this and going, yeah. It's like, but it's just to give you sort of like a bit of a gravity of what's going on. So, get into the nurse's room. They start administering first aid. I mean, only thing you can do is try and cool down, obviously, the burns and try and like minimize the amount of damage it's possible doing, because at this point it's like burning into my skin, and I'm like, oh no, this is really bad. I'm starting to panic a wee bit, going like, what's happening here? Is like, am I like really hurt? And loads of different thoughts are going through my head, and I'm like, okay. So they're covering me in towels and pouring like jugs of cold water, and paramedics arrive, and the first thing paramedics say is stop, right? You're pouring cold water over a guy who's just literally had a full kettle of boiling water over like 50% of his body, and you're going to put him into shock, ultimately put him into shock, potentially worst case scenario, my heart stops. So they just administer morphine straight away. And what they do is anybody who's done first aid is like, new thing is you get this cellophane all over your arm, all over my face, all over like sort of the burn marks around my chest, my stomach, and then I'm blue lighted to hospital. So at that point, the people obviously running the establishment, the duty manager of the day, call my family, obviously my mum, my dad, my partner, they're all racing to the hospital. I'm escorted by a member of staff. I was like, police are already en route, because obviously it's quite a serious incident. I was like, so, yeah, it was quite a significant day. Eventually got home. Burns were bad, but they weren't skin deep. There was no lasting damage physically. What's yet to come, I don't know at this point. I was like, so I'm off for a number of weeks, come back, light duties, gradually get myself into normal routine. That point, start getting something in my head is like, okay, bit apprehensive about coming back, so no prisoner contact, normal procedure. And then I'm like, okay, every day is a bit of an effort, getting up, going to work, coming in, knowing that you're going to be in contact with prisoners. Comments are already getting said when prisoners see you. It's like, obviously they don't really have any empathy for you. And yeah, a few of the comments was like, yeah, I mean, nasty, but that's part of the job. It's like, you've got to get used to that. So that's the whole point of being thick-skinned, no pun intended there. So I don't know, after a period of time, it's like there's something in my head that's kind of like just gnawing away at me, and I'm like constantly having these sort of battles with myself. Like, I'm trying to put on a straight face, and I'm trying to maintain my composure and trying to be the normal prison officer that I'd been up to that point. But like, there was always something that's like, I heard the prisoner shouting, or there was a situation that involved a little bit of tension. I was like, always felt like that there was like a sort of fight or flight moment where I was like, oh, and it continues to happen. But then it started happening outside as well. It was like, you're driving a car, somebody pulls in front of you. I was like, I would react differently. It's like I would become snappy, like a little bit short tempered, fused, which is again not my characteristics normally up to that point. And I was starting to worry about what mental impact this had had on me. So obviously went for counselling. That's part of obviously trying to get over the situation, and that's when the counsellor actually told me, he says, I think you've got PTSD, so post-traumatic syndrome. And I was like, wow. I was like, I didn't think that's what I had. I just thought naturally that I would get over it, and starting to talk about it would always put my back up. I was always kind of feel a little bit on edge, and I realised that this was something that I never seen coming, and it was hard to adjust to that. Again, you're going back into a job where you're faced with very, very one-sided odds when you're talking being a residential officer in a jail, and it can be a little bit daunting. But then you've got this in the back of your mind, is like, what happens if it happens again? What happens if somebody hits me? Is like, what happens if somebody takes a weapon out of me? What am I going to do? Am I going to like react like I did, or am I going to like freeze? And this just started ripping me to bits inside. Is like where I just decided one day, I was like, I am literally, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's exhausted me. I am petrified, but I walk in there with body armour on, pretending that I'm okay, and it literally just broke me inside. And eventually I went back to doing some counselling, and thought that I'd suppressed it all down and locked it in a wee box and never had to deal with it ever again. But it was there. I just pretended it wasn't. And after obviously a few years after that, I left and decided I wanted to pursue things in other places. But The job itself, just there was an element of it that I did miss, and I came back to it in a different setting. I went to become a custody court manager in Edinburgh, so I kind of moved up from being sort of boots on the ground operationally to sort of the first tier of management, so to speak. And again, I was enjoying it, but there was always still that element of what happens if somebody goes for a year, takes a swing, or and I think there's a few instances in there is like where I kind of felt like the pressure was going to get to me, and I was going to end up like sort of retracting into my sort of own space and becoming that person that I had unfortunately became after that period in time. But unfortunately, the whole greatness of the world had a different idea for me. Um, I was involved in a car accident. Me and my wee boy, somebody slammed into the back of us at a roundabout, damaged my back to a point where having a spontaneous incident with a custody was potentially going to end up causing sort of long-term paralysis. Sorry, I couldn't even speak there. And I didn't want that. I obviously just became a dad as like a few years after that happened, and it was something that I thought, well, I don't want to end up obviously being not able to do things with my son as he grows up. So I had to leave that job behind and leave that career behind for good. Moving into a completely different career. Never even thought about it. It was a family member who obviously I spoke to about it. They were already there and they told me go for it. What's the worst that can possibly happen? So I did, and I found out that it was actually really, really good. But the problem is I never actually dealt with my mental health. I just basically assumed that because I was out of that situation and there was no risk to me anymore, that it meant it would just go away. But ever so slightly, it chipped away at me, just like it does. And obviously, things changing sort of dynamically within my family. I was like, and obviously the change of job. I was like, there was financial elements to it. Like most people obviously go through their life, and did take a little bit of a struggle, and I felt that I was taking the burden of that, and it always felt like that it was my fault. I know it isn't, is like, but ultimately, I was the one that always had a good career. My partner did have, she's also had great jobs and a great career now, as like, but at the time, is like, I know that she was looking for something else, and I was happy to also make sure that I could comfortably make sure that we could pay all our bills and live, and obviously bring up our son and everything that sort of a guy puts on their shoulders, so to speak. And that's kind of what I done. That's pretty much it. So one day, I don't know why, it's like Pandora's box just exploded. There was no reason for it. Nothing had happened that day that sort of triggered it. I just wasn't having a great day and had a bit of a disagreement with my partner at the time, and I just basically walked out of the house. Obviously, at the time, never thought about what I was planning on doing. I just kept walking and walking and walking, and the direction I was going led me to obviously a motorway, which was a bridge over the cross. And the more I walked, the more I felt that I was a burden on my partner, my son, my friends, my family. I thought, you know what, I don't need to be here. I was like, they'll be fine without me. I was like, I'll just be a distant memory. I was like, I don't want to be here. I was like, I don't want to feel this anymore. I was like, it's just horrible. And yeah, I just felt like that I was pulling everybody down. I was like, I mean, there was just a chain on everybody because of me. I was like, and it was just like we were sinking together, and it was I was the one that was pulling everything down. So I got on top of that. I got on top of obviously where the bridge was. I was standing there. I was just watching the traffic. I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it, right? And I was like totally psyching myself up for it. And I was just like, it was like, right, how am I doing this? What am I going to do? I mean, am I just going to go for it? Right, when you're in that situation, it's just like a million thoughts are going through your head. It's just like, just constant. And again, I'm sorry for anybody who is listening to this and obviously it's putting a trigger and upsetting them. It's like, that's not my intention. And please, if you want to reach out, through, my YouTube channel, TikTok, email me, whatever you need to do. It's like, and I would love to talk to you about it. It's like, just so you know that, I mean, this was a thought in my head at that moment in time. And I remember looking at the sun, or not the sun, it's like the sky where the sun was coming down the clouds, and the clouds were all broke, and I was like, for a split second, the sun was just sort of shining through, and you could see it coming through the clouds that were breaking. And I remember somebody like sort of rolling down the window. I heard the window come down, and then I heard a woman's voice saying, "Are you okay?" And I turned around and I just said no. And she says, "Just wait there." And obviously, I assumed that she phoned the police straight away. And um, then I remember just all of a sudden a car coming to a complete stop on the other side of the road, and this guy just sort of jumped out his car. He literally ran across the road where there was traffic ongoing and sort of ran up to me and just sort of grabbed me like that. And he's like, "Look, mate, just please don't." And he was like, "Give me a cuddle." And at that point, I'm just like starting to burst into tears. And it was horrible. It was like just all of a sudden I realised, is like, you know what, how close I came to sort of not being here and not being able to tell you this story. And since then, not be able to get married and have our wee boy is grown up and he's amazing. And I mean, the things that have happened in my life since then is that I wouldn't have been here for. And after that, I went home. Police were great. They were so empathetic, and they just made me feel safe. And I came home and I told Charlotte, sorry, I didn't want to use her name, but told my partner, I was like, everything, right? Told her everything. I opened up, and that was the first time that I'd actually ever told anybody. Is like that I have got mental health problems. I was like, and I am suffering really, really badly. At that point, obviously, seek medical help. We went to my doctors, went to see mental health nurse. Also went through my work, went through the employers, explained what had happened to them, and then also, like many people who will watch this video, heard about Andy's Man Club and what they were doing at the time. So I put it off for about 2 or 3 weeks. Like, right, I'm going to see if I can do this myself. If I can't, then I'm going to go. And yes, my partner would kind of like, "Are you going tonight? Are you going? Are you sure you want to go? Just go." And I just said, like, "Right, okay, like, I'm going to go." And I did. And I packed up and I walked through that door. And I remember meeting the person that I met. And if you watch this video, you know how much this means to me. I was like, gave me that handshake, took me upstairs, brought me a cup of tea, which I've always got. And that was it. Um, that was my start of 4 years into Andy's Man Club. Guys I'd never met before, never even came across any of them, and I'm telling them everything I've just told you is like down to the granular detail, and it was brilliant. I'm not gonna lie to you, it felt like basically the whole weight of all my problems had literally just came off my shoulders and just evaporated as I walked back outside. And don't get me wrong, felt quite vulnerable the day after and the few days leading up to the next meeting, but the great thing is I went back and I kept going back and I kept going back, and I started listening to other people's problems, and I realised I was like, wow, I'm not the only person that's actually got problems in this world. It's like, so yeah, my mental health journey has went on for the last, what, 9 years, and I am now in a place where I can happily say that I know how to deal with my mental health. I know what my trigger points are. I know when I get stressed. I know how to deal with that when I get stressed, and I know what I've got around me for support. And that's the reason why I have decided to do what I've done by creating a YouTube channel and TikTok videos, and sort of making sure that there are other people out there who don't know where to go and don't have that support and don't have the tools to deal with their own mental health, that there's somebody there that's actually going to help them with this. And I hope this video really helps the people out there. Again, I don't want this to be upsetting for anybody. Please, if you do feel upset about the video, just reach out to me. Let's talk about it. Let's grab a tea. I've always got a tea or a biscuit. And again, I don't want you to feel how I felt. That's the whole point of this. This is why I do it. Is that we can break that stigma. We can also have real talk and real support as like out there. I know it's getting better, as like, but it can still get better from that. And whatever I can do to sort of help that move along to the point where mental health is not such a common issue in today, is like, then I'll be happy. So anyway, everybody enjoy the rest of the weekend. Enjoy going back to work on Monday. I certainly will. I was totally exaggerating there. And stay safe, and please go to the TikTok channel, go to the YouTube channel, and just be safe and use everything around you to sort of help your mental health. Bye all.